Hello, MCR family. It's a little quick edition of the review of the weekend for MMA. Obviously, UFC had a card in China. I think it was the first card in China for the UFC. And just luckily speaking for that, had a huge upset. And the first Chinese champion UFC history happened against Weili Zhang versus Jessica Andrade. A dramatic knockout within, I think it was 40 seconds, Fu. Just really a crazy fight for how long it lasted. And on top of that, history in the making. First Eastern Asian champion, first Chinese champion UFC history. Fu, obviously, thank you for joining me for this little quick edition. But thoughts on the performance from Zhang and just the history that was made on the card?
Well, we talked a lot about. I think Zhang is probably she's gonna make a statement for best female fighter. She's insanely dominant in the ring, and
Yeah,
it was fun to.
we were both high on her for some time. It feels like we thought very highly of her going to the Tisha Torres fight. I think that was her first UFC fight,
Yep,
and she quickly is now a UFC champion.
it's wild, and just how dominant she is in every one of her fights. Now that being said, she had a rough start to this fight. She was hurt pretty quickly, and I think Andrade just pushed too hard for a finish and then got clipped. And then at that point, she got in a Muay Thai clinch and got brutalized in that clinch, tried to escape that clinch, started falling backwards, and Zhang was just on top of her, just raining down bombs on her. And just a phenomenal fight. I think that, everyone really there was a bunch of top names in MMA that really downplayed how well Zhang would do in this fight. And I think a lot of people are stunned. And I've heard some claims for Rose to fight Zhang. I do not think that is a good, a good way for Rose to go, especially if she's like maybe playing with getting out of fighting.
No,
Because I don't,
there's only one
you know,
name that makes sense, and it's Tatiana Suarez, another
yeah,
giant fighter in the weight class, another dominant person in the weight class as well. I think that's the obvious next opponent for Zhang and for the next sort of title contender. No one else makes sense. Jacek, I think, needs to sort of make her come back. Claudia Gadelha needs to make her come back. Like you said, Rose Namajunas doesn't even seem like she wants to fight anymore. Michelle Waterson maybe could be called up because she has a name, and that might be part of the equation. But honestly speaking, there's only one person that has momentum from a meritocracy perspective, and that's Tatiana Suarez. So I think a Zhang Suarez fight would be perfect, and sort of in a weird way reminds me of like maybe like a Holloway Ortega fight where it's two guys, or in this case two women that are probably at the top of their game in their prime and are just blowing out everyone else. And the winner of this could be the next person in the division. And that fight reminds me of a Holloway Ortega matchup. It makes perfect sense. That's the fight for Zhang, in my opinion.
yeah, that'd be a huge fight. I really hope the UFC make that fight. And then after that, I don't know really where anyone goes because it's kind of a weird time for that. Seems like for that weight class, it's
A
not.
lot of
Um,
turnover, it seems.
yep.
It kind of reminds me of 205 post Chuck Liddell when we had like a new champion every fight. It seemed like it went from, I think it would be what Rashad Evans, Machida, who after that? No. It would be. God, how did the? I'm trying to remember now. God, this is awful for me. I should remember this, but I mean, we had in the stage of probably 2 or 3 years, we had Rampage Jackson, we had Rashad Evans, Forrest Griffin, Lyoto Machida, Shogun Hua, all be champions, and it hurt the division in a way. Even though those are all great names, all big names too, not having a fixture at the top does hurt a division long term, and it feels like we were in like the Thug Rose era for a quick minute, and we loved the Jacek era because that was a long era, long run. But now we don't have that clear figure at the top. Like, could Zhang even keep the belt long term? I don't know. She's a fantastic fighter. I think me and you are both very high on her, but there are enough names here to make me go, I could see Tatiana Suarez beating her. I could see Claudia Gadelha getting her on a good night. I could see even maybe Andrade on a rematch a year or two down the line, beating her. Jacek on the comeback. Maybe she's the right style for Zhang in some fashion. But just a weird time for the division, as you stated.
Yep.
Anything else, Fu?
No, just it seemed like a really big card in terms of like what it meant to like the people that went to watch, especially
the Chinese market,
first Chinese champion. The Chinese market seemed to do really well. It seemed like the card did better than maybe even people expected in terms of like sales. I kind of figured it would sell well. We've talked about this even in boxing, people trying to get in the Chinese market,
the Zhu Shiming,
it's a massive market
experiment that gone wrong. It's a massive market that doesn't really seem to be tapped into. But now curious to see with a Chinese champion with the UFC, do they really contend with one championship in the Asian market? But guys, leave a comment down below with what you think of the performance from Zhang over Andrade. Who do you want to see Zhang fight next? And on top of that, hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. Find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. Fu?
Find me, Fugati MCR, all platforms. We'll talk to you guys later.
Peace.